Hello and welcome to the Grove podcast. My name is Moz and your host as usual, and today we have a very, very special guest. And I see Tabs smiling in the corner, but no, it's not you, I'm afraid. There's someone even more special than you on. But first, I will say hello to you. How are you, Tabs?
Yeah, good. I'm very happy, doing well, and I'm really looking forward to this because, as I was saying in the pre-chat, I can sit back and ask questions and not have to worry too much about what I'm saying. So it's good. But anyway, good to be here.
Ask questions indeed, and it's someone that I've been trying to get on for a while, someone I've followed for a long time, and someone that a lot of members of the Grove, if not everyone in the Grove, knows about. It's Ian, aka Arse Cannon Picks on Twitter. How are you?
I'm very well, Moz. Thanks very much for having me on. It's great to meet you guys on screen. We've met off screen in the past, but yeah, looking forward to this as well.
Ian, I must apologise for calling you Carl a few times based on your last name. Hopefully you can play as well as Carl Jenkinson does his football. And
yeah, I think I put that into your brain because I said, when I was telling you my full name, I said Ian Jenkinson. I said no relation to Carl, unfortunately, and I think that just stuck in your brain. So that's where that came from.
Yeah, it did, and I do apologise. But hey, you're here, and we're really, really happy to have you on. Just before we start and grill you, I guess, on all things Arsenal and your Twitter account as well, just want to let the new listeners know, because we've hit a kind of milestone with, the unique listeners we get now per episode. We're well into the thousands, which is, for me, it's so surreal that more than 60 people in the Grove are listening to this podcast, and some of the feedback we get is it humbles you almost. It's so nice. So yeah, thank you to everyone. But the Grove essentially is a group of around 60 Arsenal fans all over the UK and even the world. There's folk in Canada, there's folk in America, there's people, we're everywhere. And we all got together as a result of someone who was looking for people to go to games with. And I put my name into that. I put my number in this little post, and here we are. And I had to deal with Tabs on a daily basis now. Luckily it's pre-season, so not as bad as during the season. But yeah, we meet up before games. We have a little mini community, and we produce this podcast from it. We produce like a match day program as well. So Sasha, I'll give him a shout out for that. He does like a match day program before every single game for the Grove. And like I've mentioned before, we are friends outside of Arsenal as well now. So it's brilliant. The only downside, like I say, is you have to deal with Tabs, but every cloud and all that sort of nonsense. Yeah. But today we're doing a little bit of a different thing. We're not talking so much about results or end of season things, but we're talking about you, Ian. We're talking about your story, about where you're from, why you support Arsenal, and I hope you support Arsenal, by the way. You don't just come along and you have this random Twitter account, a random canon Twitter account, and you are genuinely an Arsenal fan. But the thing that really impresses me about you, I guess, is, and you better get used to this, the compliments are going to be a lot today for you, by the way. But the thing that impresses me most is I always look forward to, I always get to the airport before coming down to London, and I always search your account and look at your itinerary that you put before you come to London. And it's so funny how you have like exactly the time your flight leaves, when you land, what time you get to the airport, what time your first drink will be, what the result will be. Your results are never right, by the way. I don't think you've ever got one right.
No.
But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. So where are you from, and how long have you been supporting Arsenal, and why did you get into supporting Arsenal?
I'm from Dublin in Ireland, and I started supporting Arsenal the first season I fully remember. It would have been a year or so before this, but the first full season I remember was the 88-89 season. Like that's 36 years. I'm 36, 37 years an Arsenal fan, and yeah, so that was a special season. Obviously, no wonder I have the bug when you know your first real memories are Anfield '89. I got into supporting Arsenal. Like some people traditionally, or a lot of people traditionally, pick a club because they're like that team won the cup that year, or they might have won the league. But for me, I didn't know anything about football. I was only getting into playing football here in Dublin. So I said, I'm going to have to pick a team. So I asked all my family, my brothers, who they supported. And like one was Man United, one was Liverpool, one was Arsenal. I even asked my mum who she supported. Now, she was actually born in London. I have a huge affinity with London aside from Arsenal as well. She used to bring me over as a kid, but I asked her, she wasn't really into football. I said, who do you support? She said, nobody. I said, who did you live nearest? Like, what was the nearest club? And she lived in Clapham, and so her nearest club was Chelsea. Oh. So she said, I don't support them, but that's who I lived beside, our nearest. So just at the time, like it was my eldest brother who was the Arsenal fan, and I kind of, I was close to him, so I was like, well, that'll do me. I didn't know what league they were in. I didn't know how good, bad, or indifferent they were, but that's how I became an Arsenal fan. And couple that with the season, I first remember being Anfield '89. It's like I just got bitten by the Arsenal bug very, very early.
What really is so impressive is that you've pretty much last season, did you go to every home game? I think.
No, I wish I did. I would be divorced if I did. See, I got to, I'd say about 12 or 13 home games last season, which I was happy with. See, something we might get onto a little bit later on. I play music. I gig at the weekends as well sometimes. So if I just disappeared every weekend over to London as well as doing the gigging, like I literally would be divorced. So I have to be careful. I have to choose my games carefully.
Are you a season ticket holder, red member, silver member? What are you?
Season ticket. I actually have 3 season tickets. Well, my family have 3. I have one, and my son and daughter both have one as well. That was just a number. When I got that email, I was in work when I got the email to come through, and I'll never forget, the subject line was, "Now is your time, Ian." And I didn't know what it meant, because you get emails from Arsenal all the time, and I just said, "Now is your time, Ian." I was like, "What's this?" And I leant forward and I saw, I opened up the email and read it, and I, like literally like a kid at Christmas, I couldn't believe it. I nearly fell off my chair in work, and I think I picked up the phone straight away to ring them, because I know you have to be quick. Even if you get offered them, like if you don't contact them quick enough, you might not get one. But yeah, we're lucky to have 3 season tickets in the family.
And when was that? When did you get that email?
It was the Arteta's second year. It's only recently enough. It was the second year we finished 8th, I think. And I remember saying to people around me, because sometimes my 2 cousins who travel over with me, they use the tickets, and I said to them, we're after getting these at a really good time. I had a really good feeling for Arteta. I thought we were going to push on, because a lot of people would, like, the day I got the ticket, like the club there was a bit of doom and gloom because of how we were performing, where we were finishing in the league. But I just had a feeling, and it's kind of been proven right, that now the tickets are like gold dust. You just can't get them.
Is this the same cousin that wants to go to the cinema instead of going for a pint?
Yes. Oh man, I couldn't stop laughing that day. I was looking at him going, come on. See, he doesn't like drinking before the games, because his seats when he goes to the games is like right up. It's literally the back row in block 133. And he doesn't like drinking because it's a long way down to the toilets. So he's just not into it. But yeah, it wasn't an impressive move by him that day.
That's really, really good that you have, season tickets and you still managed to come over for, say kind of between 12 and 15 games a season. That's pretty good going. I do the same. I'm not being big-headed or anything, but I don't think people that live in London, like Tabs and like many of the people in the Grove, realise the commitment it takes for not only going to the airport in the morning at the crack of dawn, but also then having to worry about, what time will the game finish? Will I get back in time? Do I need to book a hotel? Do I need to go the night before if the game's on at 12:30 or whatever? There's a lot of that as well. And I think I managed 24, 25 games last season, just past, which was a lot, and I'm almost divorced because of it. No, I shouldn't say that. We're not going through a divorce or anything, guys. Please don't worry. But that was a lot, and I think that was my limit for certainly going down, because I feel like waking up at, I don't know about you, but sometimes we're up at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and then driving to the airport, getting the flight, and it's just, if the game is not until 3 o'clock or 4:30, you've got all day of just it gets a lot. It can get a lot. So fair play to you for doing it and having the season ticket. And look, there's three of us, and you've got 3 season tickets. So we'll take payment for you appearing on the podcast as a few tickets during the season, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be able to look after you for
watch your mentions on Twitter, and I'd be full of people saying, "Well, I really liked you on the podcast. Really appreciate that. We should keep in touch."
Yeah.
And speaking of your Twitter account, then, so tell us when you started your Arsenal Canon Picks Twitter and why you started and your inspiration for it.
Yeah, it was a bit of fun. I started it in February 2015. So we're 9.5 years. We're heading towards 10 years now. Next February, which is crazy. And it all just happened. Like I'm a big fan of the Gooner fanzine. I'm a big fan of that, and I write for it now. I'm very proud to say that I write for the Gooner at the moment. And but they had a page at the back that did the same thing. So basically, you kind of emailed in a picture of you with a Canon, and they would print it in the Gooner. And I just thought, I was out one day, myself, my wife, and the 2 kids. They were a lot younger at the time, and I was actually, this is going to sound very posh, but and it's not something we normally do, but we were in the Irish Museum of Modern Art, right? And we were walking around the grounds outside, and I spotted an archway that had a cannon at the top of it. It was kind of etched into the concrete. And I literally in a flash, I was like, oh my God, if this is a perfect moment that if I was, I could take a picture of this and send it to the Gooner. And then I was like, I wonder if there's a Twitter account for this. And I did a quick search and nobody had put one up. So when I got home that night, I set it up and it's been going strong ever since. It's good fun. I love the interactions in it. And that's where it all started.
You got your 400th, didn't you? Picture this week, as you said,
yeah, which is crazy. We I try and keep an eye out for the milestones. So, like, on one hand, 410 years or 9.5 years doesn't sound like a lot, but like, for people to take the time, if they're on holidays or if they see a Canon, like, a lot of people will take them and not think to send it in or don't even know that the account exists. But it is a crazy amount, and I was just looking at kind of some of the stats, if you want to say that in the last 100 cannons I got were from September last year. And I don't know if it's because Arsenal are doing well, like, and everybody's, floating and thinking, the Arsenal world is great. But it took me, 8.5 years to get 300. And then literally since September last year, we've gotten another 100, even more, actually, because I have cannons I always say, in the pipeline. Like, people are sending them all the time. So I have them in my drafts ready to go. I've about 16 of them ready to go, ready to fire, as I say. The 400 one was special.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to know that people will take the time. And
so, are you in competition with She War so he can reach 1,000 pictures of shorts versus cannons on holiday?
I actually love what Gav does in She War. That he puts up the map with where all the things are going. And I tried that once, and I was just doing it on Google Maps, and it only allowed you to put up like 10 or 20 of them or something. I must find a bit of software that allows me to pinpoint them.
I'll have to show. Yeah, I've got a pair in my bedroom, so I'm not sure I'm going to be sending a picture from there.
We know too much about your bedroom habits on this podcast. Between pissing the sheets and wearing your Arsenal shorts, it's just, we need to calm this down. I think I kind of found you, I stumbled across you on Twitter, and I think it was when it moved over to X, as it's now called. Potentially now, because of that as well, Arsenal Twitter is growing because of how well we're doing, and people are retweeting your stuff more often, and that's maybe how it appears in other people's feeds, and they think, oh, he's getting someone else to post a cannon, they'll do the same. I think I posted you one day of like the cannon on my shirt in the airport, thinking it would count, but probably not included in the 400, to be honest. But it is really good, and even 399 was a personal favourite of mine for Kevin Campbell as well. Obviously, the news that he's not doing too good at the moment in hospital, so that was a really nice one as well. I'm just looking through your Twitter now, and between some of the Arsenal posts, you always see a cannon. It's just so good for like a history point of view as well. There's like I'm looking at Austria, Gibraltar. There's just from all over the world, which kind of brings me on to the next point of like, where's the strangest and also the furthest place from where you've had a cannon be sent?
God, as you say, I've had them from all over the world, which is really heartening. It's beautiful to see people sending them in. I've had them from like some of the kind of far flung places. Trinidad and Tobago, I had one sent in from there early on. Azerbaijan, a couple have come in from there. We've had them from Vietnam, Australia. Australia is probably like literally furthest. I'd say Australia is the furthest one. We've had some in from Perth and Melbourne and Sydney, I think, as well. Guyana in Africa as well, which is crazy. Having one in from there. Maui as well.
Nice.
And like I love them all. I love even if they come from London, especially if there's any from around the Manor, as we say. If there's any from around like North London, they're really special ones as well. But yeah, we've had them from literally all over the world, all over America as well. And yeah, it's really.
I wonder how many cannons there are in North London that people haven't submitted to you yet. You know, there must be a secret cannon somewhere that someone's not submitted a photo.
Someone's not sent it.
Yeah.
I'd say there aren't, but I have loads because I keep sadly it kind of got to us to the stage where, because I set this up as a bit of fun, you know, thinking a few people might send a cannon every now and again. But it got to the point where I said, I better keep a track of these. And I have, you know, an Excel sheet to keep an eye on them. And I keep a track of how many, what countries, how many from each country, and even the most prolific sender, if you like. I have to give a shout out to a guy called, his handle is @thisisandro, and he sent in the most cannons. He sent in 27 cannons just on his own from his travels. He'd just be, anytime he sees a cannon, he'll send it in. And the ones from Gibraltar, you mentioned Gibraltar there. There's another guy called, his handle is @ed6143, and he's stationed out in Gibraltar. He works for the British Army, I think. And he sends in, he's second, he sent in 25 at the moment. So it's crazy, because I remember one time at Christmas, I was, you know, in the house board, and I posted in inverted commas, the league table of the most senders, and people went not that they went crazy, but they were like, oh my God, I need to get myself at the table here, and they started sending more cannons in for about a month. It got a bit crazy, but yeah, again, all good fun.
The best. Where's the your favorite or kind of most memorable picture? And look, if you say Edinburgh, that's absolutely fine. I won't blame you for it. But yeah, do you have a favorite apart from Edinburgh, or any in Scotland anyway?
Apart from Edinburgh, well, we put Edinburgh as one, right? But after that, there's one I got from believe it or not, yeah, you know, John Chalice, Boise, from Only Fools and Horses. Wow. Now, I have to caveat this by saying that he didn't send it to me, but he was an Arsenal fan, and he basically posted up a picture of a little mini cannon on his lawn. I don't know, it was his back or front garden, and there was also a mini David Seaman beside it. I sent him a message saying, "Look, John, is it okay if I post this?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And I did. So that was a pretty cool one. There's really cool ones as well, that cannons that double up as other things. So for example, I got one in that was a cannon, but it was a cigarette lighter. I've had a wine bottle opener, pencil sharpeners. One was a really old cologne bottle, or aftershave bottle, which is just to think that these things exist is crazy. And I got a few in from the very first one that was sent in that wasn't me, was from the Tollington. Believe it or not, the owner of the Tollington, or who runs the Tollington Twitter account, sent me one. I've had them in from the Gunners pub as well. And also Mike Francis, who founded the Gooner fanzine, doesn't work with them anymore. But he sent in 5 or 6 cannons himself. He loves the page, obviously, because he has an affinity with what they were doing in the Gooner. So yeah, they're some of my favourites. I say I love the ones around London, but above all, Edinburgh.
Could be. But by the way, Moz is 31, so he doesn't really know what Only Fools and Horses is.
that, that's wrong on two different accounts. I'm not 31. I'm not that old. I'm 30. And I do know I do know what Only Fools and Horses is. Thank you very much, Tabs. Has there been any dodgy or any kind of rude pictures that you can post on Twitter? You know, and please don't say it came from at Tabarelli on Twitter.
Yeah, I did get a trouser cannon from at Tabarelli one time in the DMs. I had to kind of delete that very quick. It was only that I had to zoom in on it so much I couldn't really see it properly. But actually no, surprisingly I haven't had any cannons, because I love when like some people send a cannon in on its own, other people send in the cannon with them in the picture. Which I love. I always say in the tweets that I love when you guys are in the pictures as well. But thankfully, nobody's ever, been semi-naked or sent anything untoward yet. Now, they're probably going to listen to this and want to be the first. So, thanks for that, lads.
Yeah, next season, Moz, there's a couple of cannons in front of the Emirates. We'll set up a picture shoot with you in it.
That would elevate the Grove to one of the most listened to podcasts, and we'd be crying out for video podcasts on OnlyFans or something like that for sure.
Yeah, only cannons.
Cannons.
So that kind of brings us to the end of part one of the pod about you and your account and who you are and why Arsenal. But Tabs, I think you've got a few questions for part two. So I'll let you take it away. You've been kind of, I've been watching you, Tabs, just in the background. You've been kind of shifting like a.
No, I was trying to look for a cannon in my room. I was just wondering about any random cannons around here anyway, just to take a photo of and see.
Well, I'm just like you were kind of itching to, speak, because you're the one that speaks all the time in the pod, and you're the voice of reason, as we all know. So you can take it away. You can have part two and ask Ian some questions.
Yeah, no, I said I was just looking for some cannons, but no, I don't have any. But be sure if I do find any, I'll be sending them now. So it's just coming back to, your love of Arsenal, and we heard 88, 89, what a season to get supporting, and I think very lucky, and I think you got a bit spoilt because it's the very exactly. Oh, is it like this every year? Oh, great! I can't wait for this. Yeah, and whatnot. But with that, so what was the first game then that you went to? So what was the
my first ever Arsenal game, believe it or not, it was a cracker. It was Arsenal against Spurs. We beat them 3-1 in, I think it was October 1996.
Okay.
It was actually Arsene Wenger's 6th game in charge, believe it or not. And we beat I find it hard to say that word. We beat that lot down the road, 3-1, and like three of my favourite players scored. Ian Wright scored a penalty. Tony Adams scored, and Dennis Bergkamp scored one of the best goals ever seen in a North London derby. And it was the one where he kind of flicked the ball back over the defender, scored, and then he ran off and slid on his knees. And that clip actually was for a lot of for years after on Sky Sports, that when they were introducing a show, they would have that knee slide, and I always giggled because I was at that game. But it was under the floodlights at Highbury as well. It was just like I couldn't have asked for a better game. It was magic.
Yeah, no, I was there too. So I remember it well. So very, very good. So you're being spoiled again. So not only do you start spoiling, So
what team gone out of here?
Yeah. So what was your best memory? So what's your best memory been to date, being an Arsenal fan? And what's your favorite moment?
Like on field, the obvious ones obviously are Anfield 89, the Invincibles. Doing that is just to this day, even with the current Man City setup, how good they are, they can't do it. And I've a beautiful memory of the double in 2002. I was in Australia and just living my life. I was only a young fella at the time, and that was a magic memory. But one of my favourite memories of Arsenal and going to an Arsenal game is Arsene Wenger's last ever home game, right? Myself and my cousin went over to it, and we decided not to drink that day because we wanted to soak in the atmosphere. We were two massive Arsene Wenger fans. And before the game, he went and brought his shirt in, and he got it printed. So I had Wenger at the top, and then at the bottom Wonderland, and then the numbers 96 to 18. So it was Wenger Wonderland, so 1996 to 2018. And so I got my one done, and I had there's only, so the words there's only the number 1 and then Arsene Wenger at the bottom.
Wow.
And we went up early to the stadium, and we saw like a couple of camera crews hanging about, and they spotted our jerseys, and they were like, lads, is it okay if we just, have a chat to you and, take a few pictures or a few clips of the jersey? We're like, yeah. So we were talking to them for a while, and finished up with them, and when we said, like, where are you guys from? And they were like, we're match of the day. And we were like, what?
Wow.
We were like, very excited, because they spoke to us for ages, both of us, and they had us, holding up pictures of Wenger and, talking into a camera. And like, we thought no more of it until we flew home. It was a day trip, so we flew home that evening. And like, when we landed in Dublin airport, we literally hit the tarmac, and we turned our phones on, and both our phones just went. It was just, our phones were full of messages from friends, family going, did we just see you on Match of the Day? And they played myself and my cousins kind of bits. They did it with other fans as well. There was lots of other people there, and we just couldn't believe it. And also the official Arsenal Instagram page took a picture of the back of our jerseys and posted it on the Arsenal Instagram page, and it got over 155,000 likes. And there was people stopping us. We were walking back to the tube station to get this flight. And there was people stopping us going, guys, do you know that you have your 15 minutes of fame? And they were stopping to get pictures with us with the jerseys with the writing on the back. And it was just one of those absolutely perfect days. We won 5-0. I actually put a bet. I put a £5 bet, because I'm crazy like that, putting £5 bets on for Arsenal to win 5-0.
Wow.
We won 5-0. And it got to the point at the end of that game, I remember, like, we were it was Burnley, and we were all over them, and we were 5-0 up, but there was still about 15 minutes to go.
Let's go.
Yeah, and so I'm sitting there going, do I want us to score again or not? Like, what's going on here? Because it was 40-1, so it was £200, that I was going to get. So, but we ended up winning 5-0. But it was just one of those absolutely perfect days, and that's, as a memory, like, that day will live out. And my cousin's wife, I'll finish off on this now.
Yeah.
Well, my cousin's partner, they're not married yet, said the perfect line, because at the end of Match of the Day, like, when they're fading out, they had the fade out to Arsene Wenger's like home career anyway, was myself and my cousin with our arms around each other, walking away from camera with the two jerseys with the messages on them. And she said that to him, and that summed it up perfectly. Just a magic day. Yeah.
Nice. So you weren't part of the Wenger out crowd then, obviously, but
No.
at the time, that must have been quite difficult at the time, because it was quite polarizing. I mean, in my opinion, I think he may have left 1 or 2 years too late after it and all the rest of it. But that doesn't take it away from what he does. But it must have been quite hard being such a Wenger fan, just to see the decline, shall we say? During that period, I think it was like a 3-4 year period where it just sort of dropped off. So that must have been quite hard to, again, if you're a big,
it was,
Wenger fan.
and I do agree. He probably did stay 2 years too long. We kind of all saw the writing on the wall with him, but I just loved what he did. He transformed the club, and as most Arsenal fans did. And I do understand the kind of the Wenger outs. I thought some of it was a bit over the top and unnecessary, some of the stuff that was being said. But I do agree that he probably should have gone a couple of seasons before.
Yeah, no, I mean, football can be very polarizing like that, and it's very extremes, and people get frustrated. But no, I think we've all got affection for him, and we all appreciate everything that he did for the club. So that's the overriding feeling, and we wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't for those things. Sorry, Moz. Yeah.
I was just going to say, being on Match of the Day was just, that sounds like so much fun. The closest I've got to that is, do you remember how BBC still do live text commentary for games? And it was when Arsenal played United at Old Trafford in the FA Cup, when we won 3-2 and Welbeck scored the winner and celebrated, which I loved. I was at that game, and me and my friend made it on BBC live text commentary. and his name was James, and it's so funny to this day. I mean, like, James is like the typical kind of, well, I'm not being like racist or anything here, but typical kind of white looking guy with like the ginger hair, and just, he did not look like a Moz at all, right? At BBC live text commentary put James and Moz in brackets on the right, as if people would think, which one's James? And so all the comments from our friends wasn't, oh my God, you made it onto BBC live text commentary. It was, oh my God, they've almost mistaken you for a white guy. So that was my I must have had a photo of it.
Actually, which one would have been worse, white or ginger? I don't know.
And well, because I'm Scottish, I wouldn't mind being ginger. I don't know. That's yeah. Let's leave that topic. But no, that was my kind of, not even 15 minutes of fame, because I think it just refreshes the feed, doesn't it? After they keep posting, but I'm sure I've got a screenshot somewhere. But being on Match of the Day must be so. I mean,
cool.
Look at us, Tabs, in the Grove, when certain members of the Grove make it on TV, and I think there's like pictures of us of Whale potentially in the background of Saka taking a corner. You can just about make out his braids in the background, and he's like buzzing over it. But you were actually featured on Match of the Day, which
yeah. And I had a horrible thing when we were upgrading our Skybox to Sky Plus or whatever it's called, and I had it recorded, saved on my Skybox for years, and when I rang up when I was upgrading, I asked them very tenderly, look, do everything that we have recorded, does it transfer over to the new box? And he said no, it's like it's in the hardware of the box. So no, you'll lose it. And I explained to him why, and he was like, "Oh man," he said, "I'm a big football fan." He said, "If that was me, I'd be devastated." So all I could do was, and I still have it. I put it on my YouTube channel, which isn't Arsenal related. I just literally stood in front of my TV recording it with my phone. And so it's a kind of a terrible version of it, but I do have it. I'll send it in. I'll send it in to you guys just so you see it, because there's another one we were interviewed as well for the Premier League review, but that was only it was only for a second, but that was pretty cool because they had Ian Wright. It went to Ian, because you were talking about obviously Arsene Wenger, and so the camera went to Ian Wright, and he said a couple of words, and then it went to David Dean, and he said a couple of words, and then it went to me, and I said a couple of words, and then it went back to Ian Wright. I'm sitting there watching it going, what is going on here? How is this happening? So I have those two clips saved, although poor quality, but I have them for posterity.
It must just think you've got a face for the TV, and I guess that's why Tabs and I are podcasters, and you've been on TV.
Face radio.
My friends call me a media whore, which I'm not. I just happen to be in the right place at the right time sometimes.
Yeah, indeed. So I thought you're going from good times to, what's your worst Arsenal memory?
Oh God, like there's so many to choose from. The most obvious one, the one that broke my heart the most, was the Champions League loss against Barcelona. It was horrible. Like you have other smaller ones like the 8-2 against United. Even going further back, I remember Naeem from the halfway line. Cup. Because what happened there was I was at home with my mum, and we were watching the game. Like, once I got really into Arsenal, my mum became a big Arsenal fan. She actually became a football manager in one of my local clubs as well. She got really into it. She was very cool. But we were watching it, and it was just about to go to penalties. So, and I really needed to go to the loo. So I said, I'll run out now while I have time. Go to the loo, and I'll be back, and we'll be ready for the penalties.
Because famously, nothing ever happens when you go to the toilet. It's a written rule in football. I'll go to the toilet, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, and nothing will happen. But I walked back in, and my mum literally had her head, like her face in her hands, like, and I was looking at the TV, and the players were going crazy, having scored, and I was like looking at my mum going, what just happened? She's like, you're not going to believe they're after scoring. And then she said, you're not going to believe how they scored, and they showed the replay of like literally Naeem scoring the goal of his career. That was a very low moment, but yeah, like obviously it's all the losses. The Birmingham even Carabao Cup, well, was it called the Carabao Cup then? I don't know, but the League Cup loss against Birmingham, that was so silly. I was at the Newcastle, the 4-4 game.
Oh right, yeah.
We were 4-0 up, and they came back and drew 4-4.
Yeah,
I was at that game. That was horrible. But I think if I was to pick one, It would be the Champions League final in 2006. That killed me. That killed me because we played so well. We were down to 10 men. The referee that day made a big mistake because Barcelona scored from that chance.
Yeah, I saw it on YouTube the other day. I don't know why that came up, but the follow. I forgot about that bit, and he couldn't let it go. And
Etu scored. All you had to do was like give the goal and play on. Like we have 11v11.
Yeah,
but we played so well with 10 men. We went 1-0 up and hung on, and I just thought we were destined to win it. And it just broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart.
It seems that Europe does bring out the worst moments for Arsenal. So you said 9th on the halfway line, the Champions League. The two that come to my mind, I was in Copenhagen when we lost to Galatasaray on penalties, and I can't remember, it was winning a couple of UEFA Cup, but that was like, oh, geez, I mean, it was a horrible build up. And I was also at Highbury for Wayne Bridge scoring. That I think that is the lowest of the low, because that was a year we really should have, because we would have got through. I think it was the one when Porto and Monaco played the final in the end, so it's like there would have been no chance. But it seems like Europe brings out the worst in us.
Worst memories.
It can be horrible. So let's quick. Go on, Moz. You look like you want.
I was just thinking about my worst memory. I don't really know what it is. I think, I was probably too young. This is me showing my age now. Too young. Was it 1995 when that goal from the halfway line? Was it in the Cup Winners' Cup? Around then?
Might have been a bit later, but anyways, it was late 90s. Late 80s.
I'm sure we won it in 94.
Yeah. Parma was 94, and I think
it was the year after. Yeah, I think it was. That came up for some reason on my Twitter today, clips of that. I think they were talking about Arsenal winning a European trophy or whatever. But no, I was just thinking about my worst memory, and I think when I think back to it, it's almost like recent times, and it's almost when we lost, not the season just passed, but the season before to Man City. Like, that was just because I'd built up so much hope, and it was the first season where I'd properly started to go to every single game and made a conscious effort to really immerse myself with all things Arsenal. And but obviously the Champions League still, it's just, and even the losing 6-0 to Chelsea and was just
Wenger's 1000th game.
That was awful.
And let's not dwell on that.
Let's move on.
So a couple of questions about your favourite. So who's your favourite Arsenal player currently, and then who's your favourite Arsenal player of all time?
My favourite current Arsenal player, and there are so many to choose from at the moment. Like, you could go through and pick any of them, but the one person who, for me, like, just drives the team, I always say he is our everything, is Martin Odegaard. He's so good, not just in with the creativity side. He's our main presser. He gets the team going. He gets the crowd going. He's so talented. He makes opposition players look silly, and to qualify what I'm saying, and this is obviously just my own opinion, like, if you took any player out of the Arsenal team, from the goalkeeper up to the attackers, we'd probably have somebody who could step in and do a very good job. Like, maybe not the same job, but a very good job. But if you take Martin Odegaard out of that side, I think a lot of things fall. He's so good to watch, especially in stadium. Even when you're like on TV, you get to see so much, but when you're in stadium, if you just watched Martin Odegaard for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, you would just be mesmerized by him. He's so good.
No, I agree. We had a bit of a love fest about him a few pods ago, and we were having competition who loved him the most. I think Moz did. He's got something about his feet that he keeps going on about. But and you're right. He was the one player that we said, you're right. If you took him out, we do not have a like for like-ish replacement. Every other position we sort of have covered. He's the one player that we don't have anyone similar. So
that's why we're so grateful, honestly, that this season we never had any serious injuries apart from obviously Timber. But we don't really know what Timber's like in the squad. But what I mean is, with the core of players that we have, like Saliba, Gabriel, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, and even to an extent now you could put Havertz in that kind of criteria. We never had they weren't out for more than a game or two, if that. I mean, the biggest one was Man City when we had no Saka, and we still beat them 1-0. So Dare I say, if we never had an Odegaard in that game, or even other games where, like, for example, Luton when we won 4-3, if we never had Odegaard then, I think, yeah, what would we have done? So I agree, and I honestly think my obsession with Martin Odegaard now is he's going to end up blocking me on Instagram for the amount of times I DM him. Honestly, it's so embarrassing. I don't know if you guys seen, but he put pictures of him and Havertz up on. They're on holiday together, and I just commented and I was DMing him saying, "Oh, where are you guys? Looks amazing." I'm like, "Why is this guy gonna? He's not gonna read it." And then one of them, I think, I asked him where his hoodie was from, thinking he would reply because it was a really nice hoodie. So
He's got his DMs open, or you just responding on Twitter?
yeah, he's got his DMs open. You can DM Martin Odegaard. Yep.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's his people, not him. But anyway.
Well, whether he replies or not, that's a different story.
So. One time I was coming back from a game. It was just before an international break. It was last season, and we got to Heathrow, which I don't normally fly through Heathrow, but this time I was going back through Heathrow, and I had obviously the Arsenal top on, and the guy, one of the security people, said, "One of your players is after going through there." And I was like, "Who?" Nearly shaking him. "Tell me who." He said Martin Odegaard, but like I said, "How long has he gone?" He said, "He's only gone a couple of minutes." And I tried to sprint through security, which you can't really do, and I just have to get into a queue. And to my horror, when I got behind, you get to a certain stage in Heathrow, you have to scan your boarding pass, and then you go behind like a few screens, but there was a big queue to go through security. I was like, no. Because I think I would have just dived on him if I found him.
And injured him for the rest of the season. There we go.
It'd be the most hated Arsenal thing ever.
Exactly. So that's your favourite current player. What about your favourite Arsenal player of all time?
Of all time, again, you could pick so many. You could pick Thierry Henry, but for me, the player who changed all our worlds and Arsenal's perception as well out in the world was Dennis Bergkamp. And for me, he embodies who we are now. He'd look very at home in this Arsenal team, and I kind of liken Odegaard to him a bit in the way he creates chances. He's so skillful, but like Dennis Bergkamp, we had a bit of a reputation, as boring Arsenal back in the 90s, and when I heard we were, linked to Dennis Bergkamp, kind of like in the same way we were linked with Declan Rice, I just thought this isn't going to happen, and then we got him, and he just I know it took him like 10 or 11 games to score his first goal, but once he got going, he was just phenomenal. He was the guy that I always looked out for, and yeah, I just love the bones of him. There was talk of him coming back to the club as well. In a coaching capacity. I'd love to see that happen as well. But yeah, Dennis Bergkamp for me, he's an absolute legend.
Yeah, no, go on.
So I was just going to say I would love that to happen. I think there was rumours of Bergkamp or even maybe Fabregas coming back in some sort of coaching, because they're talking about some of the current backroom staff potentially being offered jobs at Ajax and other teams. I would love that. I think Dennis Bergkamp would just, how he'd elevate the squad to a new level. Again, he's a natural winner, isn't he? Just be a shame he wouldn't be at any of our away Champions League games.
I was just about to say that. Yeah,
or probably some of the English Premier League games as well.
Yeah. But no, true. No, I the one thing about Dennis Bergkamp I always find odd, that it's Bruce Rioch that signed him, and I'm trying to imagine that conversation, and Bruce Rioch, because it was Bergkamp and Platt I think it was that summer that they signed them both at the same time, and it just find it that, and again it was another redemption story. Took him out of Inter. I don't think he was doing so great in Italy. Henry was the same with Juventus and stuff like that. So Wenger was really good at picking players. No, great choice. So no, it's good. Really, really good to hear your sort of background in terms of Arsenal and how you supported and your favourite moments and players. So that was really nice, really nice. And we'll now move on to part 3, where we sort of do look at a bit of the current season, the current team, and just have a few thoughts about that. So back to you, Moz.
You forgot the match day routine.
Oh, you were about that. You were.
I want to know more, so I want to delve a little bit deeper. So
Okay.
So you, as I mentioned at the start of this podcast, you kind of post your match day itinerary. Now, look, if you're getting stalked by someone, right, I'm really worried, Ian, that if someone was to stalk you, like, for example, if someone, if you did injure Odegaard and someone was trying to find you, it'd be very easy to find out where you are at certain times because these are they're very exact timings. But what made you start doing that as well? And do you find that now if you don't do that before a game, it's almost like a bad luck charm?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I did it once, just for the crack. I just said because it's a crazy day. Moz, you do a similar kind of routine as well, and so I just posted it one day, and it got over 1,000 likes, something like that, and I just thought, wow, people are appreciating what I do, and it's not just me. If you're in Dublin Airport, on any Arsenal match day, there are like probably hundreds of Arsenal fans. I'd say throughout, if you were to just stand, especially in the Ryanair kind of wing of Dublin Airport, if you stood there all day, you would see hundreds of Arsenal fans go through. So I'm nearly representing all of them as well, because so many people make the same journey. But yes, since I did it, it kind of became a thing where, because we were winning, we just kept winning, and I was like, I better keep doing this. And like lots of people, to be fair, lots of people are very kind. They comment underneath it saying, "Wow, fair play to you." Like I thought my commute from, some people have a 2-hour train journey from different parts of wherever the UK, and they can't believe. And even when I'm in London, if I'm in a pub and people say, "No, you're over from Ireland," yes, and they just can't believe that we do it so regularly. And it's not just me, it's my cousins as well. But yeah, it became a superstition nearly to just keep posting it. And like if I don't, some people have to take or DM'd me saying like where's your itinerary? And but it's fun, it's just a bit of fun. But it is a crazy day. Like sometimes it's a trip, but more times than not it is an overnight. But it is a crazy journey.
I always find it so bizarre when I see in the airport other Arsenal fans, even though we are international, and obviously I'm not the only one coming from Scotland, but sometimes it's crazy. It's happened a few times in the season where we've been on the plane and I've been in row 14, for example, and Fraser's been behind me in row 15, and then someone else in row 16. And then in those 3 rows, it's just all Arsenal fans, and we're all going down to the game, we're all coming back from the game. And we got the sleeper train once back up after the Champions League game against Bayern after the 2-2, and on the sleeper train coming back, it was like the carriage was just full of Arsenal fans, and it was so surreal that we're everywhere. We're in Ireland, we're in Northern Ireland, we're Scotland, Wales. There's Arsenal fans everywhere, and I don't know about you. I don't know if there's a big Arsenal Ireland supporters group where you are, but for Scotland certainly there is. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of people that support Arsenal from and are part of these supporters clubs, which is really nice to see.
And it becomes part of, like, you get a real sense of community. Like obviously you get that when you get to the stadium, and obviously there's 60,000 of you there pretty much, but that sense of love for Arsenal and community starts when you get to the airport, or even like for me, it's when I collect my cousin or he might collect me, and then you go up and you just see all these like-minded, dedicated Arsenal fans, and it's like it literally warms my heart. Like most people hate airports, I love them. I absolutely love them. Yeah, it's amazing the dedication that people have gone to see Arsenal, and it is from all over the world. Like we're lucky in that we're not too far away. Like it's a manageable journey. But there's people who come over from America. There's people who come over from mainland Europe, and yeah, it's magic.
I was speaking to a guy this season who comes from Norway for games, which is just like, wow, that's what some effort that is. That's pretty much, and that is classed as an international flight, really, isn't it? When you think about it, it's not like our domestic ones that take I don't know about how long yours is, but mine's about 45 to 50 minutes once you take off.
Right. Do you see fans from other clubs? Other clubs doing this and stuff like that? I mean,
there's always a few shady looks across when you see a pile of Man United fans, and Liverpool fans, because like there's a big following of Man United fans,
Yeah.
Liverpool and Aston Villa as well, because it all harps back to when the Republic of Ireland football team were good.
Yeah.
They had players. Now we're going back a long way, like to the 90s. Those clubs had big Irish contingencies in their squads, like, and so you do. And I remember one time there's this thing called, I always, for the most part, I always fly with Ryanair, and there's what we call the Ryanair 5K walk. So when you get to Dublin Airport, the Ryanair wing is nearly in a different county, you know. And so you have this walk for ages up to the the gate. And literally my very first game I went to as a season ticket holder, it was we played Norwich. We'd actually lost it was the season we lost the first 3 games, and we were playing Norwich at home, and I was unlucky enough to bump into 2 Man United fans, and they had just announced Ronaldo, or had signed him very recently, and the 2 of them for that walk to the gate just abused me solid, because we were literally bottom of the league, and we hadn't won any games. They had signed Ronaldo. They thought the world was going to be, the Premier League was coming and all this. And I wish to God I could bump into them now, because look at the state. I know they've just won the FA Cup, but you just look at the state of the club. In league terms and in general terms, and I just love to bump into those 2 lads again. I haven't yet, but I will. I'll look out
one day. And what about London? Any other London clubs have any? Do you see anyone like?
I see.
You won't get Tottenham because they won't be at home the same weekend. But
I see quite a lot of like Chelsea at Edinburgh Airport, but it's weird because obviously you're not looking out for other colours of clubs. You're only looking out for Arsenal colours, and they stand out more to you in an airport. But whenever you're sitting at your gate going down to London, you always tend to see West Ham and Chelsea for some reason. But 9 times out of 10, you see these people on the flight back if you're doing a day trip as well, and you can tell they're not tourists, but they went for the tour and they went for the game, and I don't think they're real fans of the club. But Chelsea certainly I see them the most of, and I can see you kind of shaking your boots tabs at that. But that's the one for me. I don't really see many London clubs apart from Chelsea, and like you say, we'll never see Tottenham because they don't play at the same time. Yeah.
I do see some Chelsea fans as well, but not too many, thankfully. But there are a few of them, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. They're all wearing their clown costumes. That's how you spot them. They've all got the big red noses and the big shoes.
Relax. Oh wait, have I not got this? I hope this works.
Music.
I hope that music works on the actual podcast if I press that button. I'm going to make a timestamp for that and just work it back so I know. Right, part 3, before we wrap this up, it's just about kind of Arsenal this season and the squad and results and whatnot. So how do you feel about the current Arsenal team? I could probably guess your answer, but how are you feeling? So my question on that, and sorry, I've not written this down for you to read, but this might be a tricky question as well. How many more seasons do you give without us winning any silverware at all before we lose someone that we love, such as Saliba, Gabriel, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Havertz, someone like that?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because I was asked that by a friend the weekend just gone. I was at a barbecue with 2 Liverpool fans, and they asked me that exact question, and it will happen if we don't win anything. It will happen, but I don't think it'll be for at least 2 or 3 seasons. I think I think Mikel Arteta, I have a anger on the brain now. I think Mikel Arteta has those guys completely on side for now. I think they believe so much in him that at this moment in time they'll run through brick walls with him. And this is obviously my Arsenal bias coming through, but I truly believe in the next 2 seasons we'll win the Premier League. I think it's going to happen, and I think the players kind of feel that as well. So I'm not overly worried in the immediate future, but I think let's say if we'll be hitting now 24, 25, if by the 27, 28 season, 26, 27, 27, 28 seasons come by and we've won nothing. And, it's just, it's beyond our reach every season. You will lose players. Real Madrid will fly in for Saliba, 100%. They're building like, the Harlem Globetrotters at the moment. It's sickening. And, but I don't have any fears immediately. I do have one eye, but I don't fear this either. But like 0.1% of me, because everybody's celebrating that Pep is going next summer, which he hasn't confirmed, but I think he will. And people, who are they going to go for it? Like, there's nobody out there except for who?
No, it won't happen. It won't happen. Arteta.
But
I know. I was thinking this in the shower, funnily enough, as well the other day about would Arteta go to Man City? Don't worry, Tabs. It was just a shower to clean myself and nothing else. And I was just thinking, does Arteta? I sometimes put my foot in it, don't I? Actually, what you said, I was just thinking about this.
I thought you were going to say I was thinking about Martin Odegaard, and then
I'm not going to be rude on this podcast. I'm going to be a gentleman. And I was thinking, does Arteta go knowing what he knows about all this the financial doping? Because he'll know what was going on at the time. He'll know all this. He'll know they're guilty as hell. And I just think that he has almost an unbiased hatred for Man City, because when you've seen him at Man City playing against Arsenal, he never used to celebrate. And now when we scored against Man City, he celebrated. So he's Arsenal, and I don't see him managing another team in the Premier League. I think City will come calling for him, but I don't think he'll go. And I think they'll go for someone like De Zerbi or someone like that of that ilk. So I wouldn't worry about that. My concern more so is that after the next season, if we don't win something, and by something I mean Premier League or Champions League, something big, I worry we will lose Saliba to like £120 million bid to Real Madrid. Or I worry that we'll lose someone that we really like. So maybe obviously not Rice or Havertz, but even like Saka goes to Man City or something happens.
I mean, the good thing is we've got them on long-term contracts, so even whatever they can't go. And I think they're in it for the long haul. But you're right. Again, we got 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then we see, because that's when the contracts start running out. That's when it's decision time and so on. So, and as for Arteta, he's going to be signed up to a new contract pretty soon. I imagine he's only got 1 year left. So, and I think he was at City for Pep, not for Man City. If you see what I mean, learning from Pep, getting his badges, and for the players. I don't think he has much love for the actual institution. So yeah, I can't see that happening.
And if he does leave, I don't know if you guys seen that El Neni posted a picture. He's done his coaching badges alongside Cedric. So Cedric and El Neni could be the 2 new coaches of Arsenal once Arteta goes to maybe that's why we signed Cedric all along, to be the next manager of Arsenal Football Club.
And he'll still be the first virgin in the pictures after we score a goal, Cedric.
just on before you move on to the next one, because the first part of that question was how do I feel about the current Arsenal team, and I'll just pretty quickly I'll say the word I use is connected. I feel very connected to this team. I love the players. I love that they've all bought into what Arteta is trying to do. They fill me with hope. Like I said earlier on, you wouldn't have thought that we would be even in the race to sign the likes of Declan Rice. That was a signing for me that showed the intent of the club and the trajectory we were going on. And yeah, I just love this current Arsenal squad and the management as well. And I genuinely think it's going to big places.
Have you ever felt this connected before to any other squad since you became an Arsenal fan?
Well, going back to what, like, obviously things change when you're younger, you have different, mentalities and so on. I was very connected to, I loved the kind of the Ian Wrights and like Kevin Campbell. Hopefully everything goes well with him. I loved that Arsenal team, Tony Adams, the traditional back four. I loved the 98 double winning team. These Arsene Wenger free flowing teams, but I haven't felt disconnected to an Arsenal team for a long time, for a good while. And yeah, I just hope that they get the silverware that they deserve.
Agree.
Yeah, I agree. I echo those comments. So, what are your thoughts then? So, I guess this question I was going to ask you, what your thoughts on the season just gone and what you're hoping for next season. I guess your answer to that would be silverware, certainly. But what are your thoughts on this season just gone? And do you have any regrets or do you have any games where you think, oh, if only we'd won that? And what are they?
Yeah, look, I loved the season that just happened, even though we didn't win the ultimate prize at the end. And I before I say what I'm about to say, I'm going to caveat it by saying that I don't blame any of the players for causing, for being the reason for us not to win the league, because some of the players I'm about to mention, and they're just moments in games that I rue. These players still went on to contribute in other games, to win us games and so on. The two games that stick out for me, and I've said it to a few people, are the two early on ones. Were one was Fulham at home. We were 2-1 up against 10 men, and I was at the game, and the ball was down in the corner. I'll never forget this. And Zinchenko had the ball, and all he had to do was hoof it. And I'd say a couple of more minutes, and we would have seen the game out. He gave the ball away, and then in an effort to get the ball back, he gave away a corner, and Fulham scored from that corner. And I was gutted leaving the stadium that day. Now, again, I'm going to say that Zinchenko caused us to win some other games, so I'm not, saying Zinchenko is the reason we lost the league.
Did
This
has he?
We haven't got enough time to go into the data on this and all the rest of it. So just in continue on this, a discussion for another day.
We'll park that for another day. But the other one is Spurs at home. That was early on as well. Again, we were 2-1 up. Like, those 6 points were in our pockets and we threw them away. And Jorginho, like, he was only on the pitch a few minutes, probably hadn't warmed up. Declan Rice, we were unlucky that he went off injured at half time. And, Jorginho's so good on the ball. It was so out of character. He just kind of trod on the ball. And ironically, Son goes through and scores the exact same chance against us that he misses against Man City. That was hard to take. But those two games, now I know we lost over Christmas, we lost to West Ham and we lost to Aston Villa, and they were terrible games. But those two, purely because we were ahead in both of them, and they were just unnecessary individual errors, they're the two that stick in my mind. But in no way, I'm not trying to kill the two players I've mentioned, but they're just, moments that stuck out. It's hard. We were so close, and they would have made such a big difference. But that said, I just absolutely loved this season. Like, we were so good. The most wins in our history in a league. 89 points, that would win the league. As somebody said, during the Ferguson era, that would have, out of Ferguson's 13 Premier League title wins, that would have won 8 of them, I think 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So we're just unfortunate that and Liverpool fans will know exactly what we're talking about, that we're just unlucky to be in this weird Man City world at the moment. So but I love it. Absolutely love the season. And next season, very simply, I just hope we just get that extra win, that we just pip them to the post instead of it being the other way around. So, yeah, that'd be big.
Now I know how the cyclists felt when they were trying to race against Lance Armstrong all those times.
Exactly.
It's really interesting that you mentioned 2 games quite early on in the season, because most people I ask would say, oh, Villa, both games against Villa. But it's really interesting, and I always forget that we were 10 men. We were playing against 10 men, and 2-1 up against Fulham. I always seem to forget that. And the Spurs game just being there, I think, it was just. But as Tabs would say, and look, Tabs, I'm being your voice of reason right now. As Tabs would say, those games, if we'd lost, if we'd won them, we would have maybe dropped points elsewhere in the season. You never know.
Yeah. Games, very quickly just say, yeah, you also had the games where, you could say that we were quite lucky, the Declan Rice header against Luton, and, there's a few others like that. So there's a bit of give and take in the season,
And let's not forget, we need to mention it, if Garnacho was on side, Man U would be Premier League winners right now. So there's that as well.
Be relegated, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of players that we have, current crop of players, let's not think about kind of academy prospects, but more so first team players who have played minutes in the Premier League for us. Who do you think we should sell or loan this season? So I'll just read out some names to you. How about that? And you can say keep, sell, or loan. So the first one that comes to mind is Eddie Nketiah.
Sell.
That was very That was very
Very fair. But you know, I actually am fond of Eddie, and I think he's going to make a good career somewhere. But I just think we need to move beyond them. We're better than that now. We've evolved past the likes of Eddie, and I would just sell on. Yeah.
Okay, Gabriel Jesus.
Do you know what? I think he'd be a great squad player to have, somebody to bring on, somebody that could bring in a little different dimension to a game. Because you know what he's like. He's like a wild coyote when he comes on, and like if you put him on against a tired defense, he could make a difference. But then the other side of it is, if you were offered, I don't know, 30 million from, could you use that and go somewhere else? I don't know if you get 30 million from, but I'm kind of 50-50, but I'll push the needle slightly towards keep.
Okay, Thomas Partey.
Oh, I love Thomas Partey. To be honest, my quick answer is sell. But I genuinely, in the years I've been going to watch Arsenal, he's one of the best players I've ever seen on the ball. He's sensational on his day, as in when he's fully fit and he's gets a run in the team. He's unplayable. He's so good. But just the injuries are just too much, and I think he's lost a bit of form. So I regretfully say so.
And if we sell him to Saudi, we get 30 million for him. Happy days. Tab shakes his head, but Tabs also thinks that we're going to get 1 million for Nketiah. So, yeah, you hang that head in shame. Fabio Vieira.
Oh, again, I truly believe there's a player there. I just don't know whether we're going to see it often enough. And he's the one we were talking about, Martin Odegaard's replacement. I think he was bought in to be kind of his deputy, if you like. And anytime he played, he had one good game earlier on in the season. It was actually the Fulham game that we drew 2-2. He was involved in he won the penalty. We were losing. Yeah. He won the penalty, and he also Eddie Nketiah's goal, like what should have been the winner. But then he just, I thought, right, here we go. He's arrived a bit, but he just hasn't pushed on. He's like Jesus. If a good bid came in, I wouldn't mind selling him. But also, there's something in me that thinks there's a player in there as well.
What's interesting is there was rumours online circulating that apparently he's not training. He doesn't train very well, Vieira. So, and Arteta, you know what he's like. He's quite cutthroat. Smith Rowe.
Break my heart. For the last 4 or 5 months, I've said that Smith Rowe needs to move on, both for Arsenal and for him. But still, large parts of me wants to keep him. He's one I wouldn't mind him getting a loan, but I don't know if that would suit either parties.
Yeah.
Again, like he's kind of like Vieira, probably even more so. He's a guy who we all know there's a player in there, but will we ever see it properly and consistently? I don't know. I'm in the loan camp for Smith Rowe.
Okay, couple more. Aaron Ramsdale.
I think he'll go. I think it's sell. I don't think he's going to hang around and be David Raya's number 2 and play a few Carabao Cup games. So I love Ramsdale, absolutely love him, but I think we have to sell.
Who would do? The question is, well, I'll come on to that actually. So I'll bear that in mind. 2 more. Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, sell. I know he's your compatriot. Sorry,
I don't rate him, by the way. I don't rate him at all as a player. I don't think he's integrated. I've mentioned before in this podcast, I think there was a video, I'll just very, very quickly, there was a video on Twitter of Arsenal training, and it was like the first team against the youth team, and it was like a competition they were doing, and it was Saka against one of the youth players left in this one-on-one dribble past each other competition thing, and Saka lost, funnily enough. And all the players went around Saka and they were like hitting him on the head and everything. And you could just see in the background Kieran Tierney just walking, looking at the ground, kicking a water bottle or something. And I thought that, to me, it was just like, yeah, you're not part of this. You're not part of this team. And if you need the chef from Celtic to come down to London and live with you and keep you company, yeah. So there's rumours of him going back to Celtic, and I wouldn't be averse to that. And finally, Reiss Nelson.
Yeah, Reiss, I think, is a straight up sell. again, there's a player in there, but I just don't. Again, we've evolved past them, and you just look at the minutes he got this season. Mikel Arteta renewed his contract. The club renewed his contract, but the longer time goes on, that was more, I think, to protect his value. So yeah, I think Reece, even though you gave us that moment against Bournemouth, it's time to go.
Yeah, and then there's obviously there's youth team players that we can now promote as well that I think are ready, like Noah Neri, and there's even who's the one that's scoring like 19 goals per game.
He's 16. He plays for He's just been at the under-17s, and I watched him in the under-17s. He's okay. Those guys getting excited about 16-year-old that scores God knows how many goals in youth league.
Wayne Rooney was 16 when he made his Premier League debut. Just saying.
But yeah, okay. But yeah, he obviously deserved to. If the guy's that good, he would be there. So, and that was for him.
I think now I was thinking this because obviously there's quite a few youth team players like I don't know how old Miles Lewis Skelly and Cozier Dewberry are and whatnot. I think so. Lewis Skelly is 17 and Dewberry is 19. But I think nowadays players are older when they make their Premier League debuts compared to maybe 5-10 years ago. I think that you're getting older now. So I was going to mention you talked about Aaron Ramsdale. Obviously you think we should sell him, but surely we need another keeper then as a number 2. So who would you go for? And then also my part 2 to that question is, what other transfer business would you like to see? And funnily enough, I just had a call from Andrew. I missed his call and he texted me saying he's just seen Sesko at Belfast Airport. I'm like, no, you haven't. Like, why would he be at Belfast Airport unless he's not had a direct flight from Slovenia and he's had to go through Belfast to get to London?
They're in the middle of friendlies at the moment, so don't know.
Yeah, so Andrew's probably had one too many pints at Belfast Airport, and he's thinking he's seen Sesko. But yeah, so who would you sign as a keeper, and also what other transfer business would you like to see? And this is our second last question, by the way.
Yes, like a name for a backup keeper is very difficult because who will want to come and be a number 2? Like Ramsdale, like I would keep Ramsdale, if I thought that he would happily be, that number 2 and work his socks off and do a job when he comes in. But I just don't think he will. And that's why I think the club nearly have to sell him. But I wouldn't mind seeing kind of a youngish keeper. Now I'm not talking about one of our kind of youth keepers coming in, but I wouldn't mind us getting say like a championship keeper in who's young, who can grow with the team and what David Raya is doing in terms of how he's playing the ball out and how we play as a team in general. My knowledge of goalkeepers, backup goalkeepers wouldn't be the best in the world. I wouldn't be able to give you a name, but David Raya, it's nearly not that it's become a mute thing. It becomes a very important thing if David Raya gets injured. Like you look at the minutes that David Raya played last season, and it was basically every game that he signed, after he signed, apart from the 2 Brentford games, he played every Champions League game. And I think in general, football has gone back to like just one goalkeeper. Like one goalkeeper plays like a first choice goalkeeper, and the second choice goalkeepers are playing a lot less minutes, I think. Now I could be proven wrong if people looked at the stats across football, but I just think I might eat these words, but I just don't think it's hugely important who we get in as a backup goalkeeper.
But then look at what happened. Look what happened to City at the end of the season. 2 games to go.
Yeah,
Ortega had to come in, and I think Ortega also after the international break. Yeah, you're right. It's so hard to get someone in, and unless you're paying him stupid money to sit on a bench. You have to either go for someone young or someone old who's I don't know, is Taylor still available? I don't know, but it's hard because Ortega, he played in the cup final. He had to play the last game of the season, played the rest of the Tottenham game, made that save. So
saves that game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you're right. It's hard, and who does it? Who does it knowing they are going to be sitting on the bench and playing your cup games? It's
exactly
so hard to do that one.
It is very hard, yeah. And in relation to other signings, and again, this will sound like a cop-out answer, and I suppose it is a bit. I'm not too pushed on names. I've gotten to the point now, because of the success that Arteta had with Havertz and David Raya, that he signs these players that we're all scratching our heads saying, why has he done that? Like, why is he gotten Raya in? There's no need for him. That I'm completely at ease with whoever Arteta picks. I'm getting very excited by the Sesko rumours, but apparently it's pronounced, you like this, Moz, it's pronounced in the style of your compatriot Sean Connery. Apparently it's Sheshko. Apparently that's the his local pronunciation, but I really like the looks of him. He is built very well. He seems to have a great touch. He'd be great in build up, like, players playing off him. He can jump the height of a house by the looks of things. Some of the clips that were going around, and
that's always make players look good.
No, but there was one of him doing this heading exercise where you think Ronaldo jumps high. It was Ronaldo. Well, okay, it was Ronaldo-esque in terms of height that he was getting up to.
Yeah. Then again, if we all judge Kai Havertz on his soccer skills challenge and he's then he wouldn't be an Arsenal player for long, would he?
No. You got dogs abuse for that.
Yeah, it does excite me, this Sesko rumor, but I just don't want it to turn into another kind of Højlund or even like anything like that. I just hope that Arsenal have done their due diligence and this guy is going to be a player. And it looks like he will be. It'll be interesting to watch him play. I think he plays on Saturday in the next friendly. So it'll be interesting to watch him play against, it's Bulgaria. Yep. But then you go to the Euros, and obviously England have Slovenia in their group. So will Bukayo Saka be crying because his new teammate knocks them out of Euros? And that just opens the door for Scotland to win it. God, it's all falling into place. My last question to you is, we ask everyone this at the end of a podcast, is what do you think of Tottenham?
Shit.
Thank you. And that is all we have time for. Ian, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. We could spend another hour and 20 minutes, however long it's been, speaking to you. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for what you do on social media, and also for putting up with me when I send pictures of my Canon on my t-shirt and not a real Canon. But no, keep doing what you're doing. And if anyone wants to follow you, I'll let you plug your Twitter. So what is your username on Twitter?
My username is @ArsCanonPics, which sounds very dodgy. It sounds like if you wouldn't want to Google it, I'll put it to you that way. Just go on to X and type that in. And look, lads, it's been an absolute pleasure for me as well. I've really enjoyed it. The first time I very quickly, I don't know if you remember this, Moz, I put up my usual kind of trip routine on Twitter, and I flew in through Stansted, but I flew in through Heathrow and I flew home through Stansted, and I was walking up towards the gate, and I just felt this hand come over my shoulder and grab me and pull me back, and it was Moz. He was like, "Are you Ars Canonfix?" I was like, "Yes, it was." Hey. We had this manly embrace, and it was great.
I still remember getting so much shit from my friend I was with, because I was like, "Oh my god, guys, that is Ars Canonfix. I recognize him." And they were like, "You can't just go up to a random guy asking him if he's Ars Canonfix." It's not. He's gonna punch you in the face, and like you'll get kicked out of the airport. But I knew
it is funny that a few people in Dublin Airport, especially, and I say this with a very small head. I'm not big headed at all, but a few people do come up to me and say, they call me the Cannon Man. Are you the Cannon Man? Are you the guy that posts the pictures of the cannons? Like, yeah, and that's great as well, because again, it goes back to that community feeling, and but yeah, I just thought it was funny that day. I just felt this hand and heard this Scottish accent.
Yeah. I think you got a bit of a fright, didn't you? It was quite. I think you're like, "Oh shit, who's that?"
My very first instinct, like my nanosecond instinct, was that it was a security person, because I'd done something, or it looked like I'd done something. Yeah, and but then I just saw the big smile. I was like, yes.
But no, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully next season we will meet up a lot more than we did this year, and watch us win the league together. And please keep Tabs and I in mind for any spares that are going for your free season tickets. I'll take anything at the moment. I'll go up in the gods.
You're such a ticket whore, aren't you?
Yeah. I am. I don't call me a ticket monster for no reason, right? I'll sit up in the gods with your cousin and even go to the cinema with him before the game for a ticket.
Yeah, and I apologize in advance for the dodgy picks that are going to be coming your way.
Like I said, so long as there's no trouser cannons, I don't mind. We're all right.
Just a quick word for everyone listening. Next week, we are going to have a special Racism in Football podcast. So the Grove's very own Senzi did her dissertation and studies at uni on racism in football. So she will be here to speak about that. So that will be releasing probably around Friday or Saturday of next week. So be sure to listen to that. But yeah, it's goodbye from myself, Tabs, and Ian. Guys, thank you again so much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.